Alright, so welcome to our Day 1 notes over inequalities. This is basically a review of Algebra 2. So let's go ahead and get started with our first example. It says, using the set of all real numbers, graph the following on a number line. So we have A, where x is less than 4, and B, where x is greater than or equal to 5. So for this first number line here, I'm going to graph what x is less than 4 looks like. So I would say that will be right here. And since it's a less than, right, if it's a less than or a greater than, we're going to have an open dot above the 4. And all the numbers less than 4, I'm thinking, okay, like 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 1.111. Those numbers are going to be on the left of 4. If I have x is greater than or equal to 5, well, 5 would be right there. And it's greater than or equal to. If it's less than or equal to, both of those things should have an closed dot. And this time I'm going to be shading to the right. So if I look over here, it says graph A union B and A intersecting B. So this symbol, that U-shaped looking symbol here, that's the union symbol. And we represent that as OR. This upside down U, that's basically intersection. So that's our AND type of situation. So real quickly, let me go ahead and give you an example. Let's say I give you two sets, right? So I have, I don't know, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, 1, nope, just kidding, negative 1, 0, 1. And then for my second set, let's say negative 2, negative 1, and 0. So OR means all the numbers present. So if I were to give you an OR situation, what are all the numbers present? Well, you would say negative 4, negative 3. We do have two negative 2's, but you only need to write that once. Same thing with negative 1. And same thing with 0. And then 1. So those are all the numbers present, right? An AND situation would mean, what do these two sets have in common? Well, I can see that they both have a negative 2, a negative 1, and 0. So that's what I'm going to write. Negative 2, negative 1, and 0. Okay? So, let me go ahead and just erase this real quick and then start graphing. If I'm talking about all the numbers present, so all the numbers should be less than 4, and all the numbers should be greater than or equal to 5. So that's basically what I'm going to put for A uniting B, right? So 4, open dot, shading to the left, and then here's my 5 with a closed dot, shading to the right. And where do these two number lines intersect? They don't. So what we need to write here is basically no solution. Okay, let's take a look at number 2. So I have x is less than 4. So basically the same thing with what we have, or what we had here for 1. This time we have x is less than or equal to negative 2. So that would be right here on the number line. I'm going to give it a closed dot because it's less than or equal to. And I am going to be shading to the left. So if I were to say, what are all the numbers present? What are all the numbers involved? I would say anything that's less than negative, or just 4, right? Anything that's less than 4. So here's 4. And you know for sure it's going to hit negative 2, right? And I'm going to keep on going to, hopefully you know by now that we are approaching negative infinity. All right? So that's what I'm going to put for my first number line. Where it says A intersecting C, well, where do they intersect? What do they have in common? Well, I'm going to highlight it with my yellow highlighter here. That would be right here. So all the numbers that are less than or equal to -2. So that would be right there. All right, so let's take a look at number 3. So we have 2, and here's 3. At 2, I'm going to have a closed dot, and I'm going to be shading to the right. And then at 3, it's going to be a closed dot, and I'm going to be shading to the left. So if I'm talking about D uniting C, well, notice that I'm going to hit every number that I can think of on the number line. I am going to, from 2, right, approach positive infinity. And from 3, I'm going to be approaching negative infinity. And at some point, if I look at this number line here, I am going to hit 2. And if I look over here, at some point, I'm going to hit 3, right? So 3 would be right there. So all the numbers that I can think of, even those decimals, are going to be involved. So what do I say for this? All real numbers. Now, where do these two things intersect? Right there. Between 2 and 3, including the number 2 and the number 3. So that would be from 2 to 3, and that's where I'm going to put that on the number line. All right, so let's take a look at number 4. X is greater than or equal to 5. Okay, so 5 would be right here, and this is where 3 would be. Closed dot, closed dot. First one I'm going to be shading to the right, and the second one I'm going to be shading to the right as well. So I would be starting at 3, and at some point I'll be approaching 5, but I'm going to keep on going. For the intersection, that would be right here. So at 5, and there we go. All right.